The word jinn in Arabic comes from a root word, jim nun nun, which means something that is hidden. So anything that will have jim nun nun will be to do with a hidden element. So you've got, for example, Jannah. Jannah is hidden from the eye. No eye has seen Jannah. That's why it's called Jannah. It's got jim nun nun there. You got Junoon, which is madness. Now when a person is mad, you don't see their madness. So it's hidden within their own mind. So therefore it's got, again, jim nun nun within that. And anything that has that, you will find that it has that element of hiddenness in it. Allah has given many different ayats regarding that hiddenness, and in one of them in Surah Al-A'raf, which is the 7th surah of the Holy Quran, verse number 27, Allah said, they see you in a way that you do not see them. So what Allah has given as a set rule is that we're both going to exist in this world, coexist in this world, but they're going to be able to see us and themselves, but we don't see them. Now the jinns, though they see us, they don't see the angels. Jinns don't see the angels, and they don't see the angelic world. The angelic world has been created from light. The jinns have been created from fire. And again, there are several ayats in the Quran to talk about the fact that they've been created from fire. Our essence comes from clay, from water, and from other elements. We've got a heavy material side to us. They've got a very light side to them. The essence is that they are, since they are of fire, fire rises. Okay, or heat rises. So jinns, and them being sort of non-tangible, they're able to fly, they're able to move around much more easily than ourselves. Now one particular incident is in Surah Naml, where Suleiman alayhi salam, he asks, who is going to bring the arsh, or the throne of Bilqis. So there's an interesting part there, because there's two different beings that stand up. One is the actual jinn, and one is the one who's been given the knowledge. And they say, according to tafasir, they say that the one who's been given knowledge, some have said that is Jibreel, but others have said that it's actually another jinn that is stronger than this one. So if you look in Surah number 27, verse number 39 and 40, you will find an Ifrit, Allah has given that name, from the jinns, said, I will bring it to you, I will bring Bilqis. Now Bilqis again is controlling a whole world of jinns, and she's a jinn herself. And he says, I will bring you her throne to you before you can even stand up in your place. Strong, and I'm also, I've got trust. And then the one who had the knowledge of the book said, he stood up and said, I can bring it to you before you can blink your next eye. And before he blinked, he saw the throne of Bilqis in front of him. And that was the power. Now, they can move, some of them. Now again, it's to do with the power that Allah has given, because some of them are weaker than others. Some of them are weaker than others. So some of them can't move so fast, but some of them, but others can actually move fast. Some of them are more powerful than others, and very clear from this part of the tafsir of the Quran that there is a strength amongst them, that whether some of them have more power than others. Now interestingly, Suleiman alayhi salam, he was given the power over jinns. He was the only human being that had the authority given by Allah to control jinns. And Allah has given reference in the Holy Quran about that in Surah Al-Naml again, where Allah says, Surah Al-Naml, verse number 17 of Surah 27, that for Suleiman, the jinns were gathered, the men were gathered, and the birds were also gathered. This is specifically his power that Allah had given him, that he could have that influence on them. And what he would do is that he would ask them to build monuments for him, and if they didn't build monuments for him, he would cage them up. And he would also ask them to dive into the oceans and bring out for him certain precious stones out from the depths of the ocean. So some of them he had them building, some of them he had them in cages, and some of them he had them diving into the oceans. And this is in the Quran, in Surah Sad, 38th Surah. I gave Suleiman the power of the winds. Gently it will be able to take him wherever he wanted, and wherever it would reach to. Allah has created certain shayateen or devils that Allah says they were masons for him, so they used to build. They used to dive well into the oceans. There were others whom he had chained up because they wouldn't listen to him. So he had that power. And they used to work very tirelessly for him. Very tirelessly for him, because Allah had given him the power over the jinns. He could order any jinn at any moment to be in front of him, and he could send other jinns to go and capture them and bring them to him. And they were working tirelessly. And there's one interesting part that I want to quote here, because it relates to some people's belief regarding the jinns. In Surah Saba, which is the 34th Surah of the Quran, verse number 14, Allah says, now the jinns were working for him. They were making many things for him. They were making monuments for him. They were making even large pots for him. They were making features and architectural pieces for him. This is all in verse number 13 that Suleiman a.s. was making through the jinns. And then what happened is that he had a glass chamber, and he was standing in the glass chamber with a stick that he was resting upon with his chin. And the jinns, what he was doing is he was standing in qiyam. He was standing in sort of prayer or salah and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he actually died. Suleiman a.s.'s death is actually while he's standing with that stick under his chin. He's resting with that stick, just resting under his chin. And he actually died in that position. But the jinns were still tirelessly working around him, because they knew that Suleiman, though he's praying in there, he could just open his eyes, and if he saw them not working, they'll be chained up. So they're working tirelessly. And they say that they were working, according to tafasir, they say that it took 6 months for a small insect to bite through that stick that Suleiman a.s. was resting, until finally the stick snapped and Suleiman a.s. fell down. And the Quran says when he fell down, the jinns now realized if they knew the world of the unseen, they wouldn't have remained in this punishful state that Suleiman a.s. had put them in. They wouldn't have remained in that clear punishment. Now, or that disgraceful punishment. Now that it's very clear here that jinns don't know the unseen world. Now there are people who will try and capture jinns, or to try and see if they can talk to a jinn who's trapped in a human being and see if they can get to know the unseen world. It's haram. Why? Because the jinns don't know the unseen world. And if a jinn is telling you about the unseen world, then he's giving you Google-a-doo. He's giving you stories, jackanori's. Right? And what happened is that the jinns used to, from a very old time, because they've been here before us. They've been here before us. And they were here when the jinns were residing on the earth and there was no humans on the earth. Adam a.s. got created after the creation of jinns. Jinns had a lot of bloodshed, because don't forget please, they are a nation, or they are a group of beings Allah has created. They have everything similar to us. Everything similar to us. They eat, they sleep, they have homes, okay? They have conversations with one another, just like we have. They have language amongst themselves. They have castes. They have religions. They have bartering, things that they barter with and they trade with. They have challenges with one another. They have troubles and they have arguments with one another. They could have fights and wars with one another. And when it gets to fighting with jinn and jinn, it can become very serious sometimes. In fact, it's ended up a lot of the times before Adam a.s. came to this earth, it ended up in death. Death of jinns. And in fact, when the messenger used to come amongst them from the jinns, this is all in Tafsir ibn Kathir, if you want to actually read upon it about the jinns, if you want to look at the first tafsir of Surah Baqarah where Adam a.s. mentioned, you will find a lot of this, and you will find in other tafasir as well. They were on this earth and they were causing a lot of mischief on the earth, and when a messenger would come, they would kill that messenger. And that is when Iblis, at that time, he was a jinn. He was part of their world. And he, ascended high enough that he became part of the world of angels because of his good nature. He was a good being. And he started to worship Allah till he got through to the ranks of the angels, some of the highest angels. And he being a jinn, he wasn't an angel, he being a jinn, living amongst the ranks of the angels. In fact, there are certain weak hadiths to say that he even worshipped Allah in every single sky, every single heaven he worshipped Allah. And he got to so close that he then asked Allah to send with him a group of angels to go back to the earth and to banish these jinns and to kill as many as he could to try and curb the violence on the earth. So Allah allowed that, and he came, he did that, and the jinns were now only a few in scarce places of the world. And that's when he came back up, Allah knew his intentions, because Iblis was looking for his own little a high rank, and he wanted to become Mr. Chief, or Mr. Chairman. People fight to get the chair, right? Guys, you're not listening. People fight to get the chair. To get a chair, they fight. To get in leadership, they fight. To get in charge of a place, they fight. To get in charge of any country, they fight. So Iblis was after this, and Allah knew his intention, so he wanted to show this. And he created Adam alayhi salam, and then he told him to bow. And then here Iblis refused, because he knew the significance of this bowing. That bowing wasn't because of worship. That bowing was to accept the authority of Adam alayhi salam over the jinns and over even the angels. Angels are great, but we are in one way greater than them, because angels don't have the ability to go against the will of Allah. They can't disobey Allah. It's in their nature to always obey Allah, but we have. So when we choose obedience over disobedience, that is a far greater achievement than the angels who have no will to disobey God. Do you understand? That is why on the day of Arafah, there's a clear hadith in Muslim, Allah will boast to the angels and say, "Oh angels," Allah boasts to the angels and He says, "Oh my angels, look at my servants on the day of Arafah who have come to me with tatty hair and dusty clothes, disheveled to me. Look at them." Allah boasts to them because of the fact that we can disobey but we choose to obey. And that's a higher rank. So Iblis saw this and he didn't bow, and therefore we know the clash that happened. He asked for extra time, he got that, and then he said that I'm not going to let this human being and all his progeny off. I want to take as many of them as I can to hellfire with me. And he said, I'm going to come in front of them, I want to come behind them, I want to come from the right side, I'm going to come from the left side. Allah, you will not find most of them to be thankful to you. Now there's a key thing here that Allah said, and this is that key for our protection from them. He said, Iblis said, except for those of your servants that are going to be righteous, salihin. If there's righteousness, if there's good actions, then shaitan has less influence, because your immune system is strong and he has less influence over mankind. Now he has this time that he's going to stay on the earth, and no other jinn has been given this time to stay on the earth forever, until the day of judgment. No other jinn has been given that. Now obviously Iblis has his progeny, Iblis has his children, Iblis has his friends, and this is clear from the Holy Quran. In Surah Al-Kahf, in the 15th juz of the Quran, Surah number 18, verse number 50. Allah says, "Will you, O human beings, some of you human beings, take him and take his children?" Allah says, "Dhurriyatahu," his children, his progeny, his grandchildren, his grandchildren's grandchildren, and so on. He's got a whole race of things that are being created on this earth, and so have we. So Allah says, will you take him and his family members as your allies, as your close ones besides me? While he is your enemy, will you do this?
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Hope this video was helpful for you. This may help others too, so please consider sharing, and we will bring more videos in the future, inshallah. So consider subscribing and you won't miss any. Jazakallahu khairan.